All right, welcome to this week's live stream. I hope everyone is doing well. Happy to be back in the United States. It's been quite a few days, and I apologize that I've not been able to do any streaming as I anticipated, but I unfortunately was not as prepared as I needed to do that while I was out of the country. So I'm just glad to be back with you all today. We have things to talk about that is outside of Built for Once. We're definitely going to talk about the lead story of Hyatt and what we're hearing as far as rumors. We're going to definitely touch on the weekly briefing of some different information we need to talk about. And then we are in the strategy session. We're going to talk about the changes that we know will be happening with United Airlines and how they are basically moving closer to what Delta has already done as far as how they prioritize cardholders. So we're going to touch on all of that today. And so not to waste any of your time, we're going to go ahead and get started. And let's get this pulled up. So what we're going to talk about first is the Hyatt rumors as they relate to the premium card and dynamic pricing. Now, we obviously are going to be concerned about possible dynamic pricing because the whole value of Hyatt is that chart that we're able to work with, even though it is based on three different tiers of an off-peak, a base rate, and then a peak rate. But we need to get into the specifics of it to make sure that we know what we're looking at. So let's start talking with the pricing changes first. And with the pricing changes, we are seeing even the rumors that we're looking at that there's going to be a category 9 and 10, which is not overly surprising. We basically knew there was going to be something that was going to end up happening to further expand the pricing of Hyatt while hopefully still maintaining that pricing chart that we really want to be able to have. So for category 9, the rumor would be is we're looking at 45,000 points per night off peak, 50,000 as far as the main points, and then 55,000 peak, while category 10 would be 55, 60, and 65,000 points. Now, these two categories are really geared towards Park Hyatt hotel locations, and that's really expected to be the only brand that hits that, as Hyatt really tries to continue the push to distinguish Park Hyatt from any other of their brands as the premier luxury brand. And so for category 9, we're expected to see the metro-based Park Hyatt locations like Milan, Paris, Tokyo, Sydney in Australia, who are all most likely going to hit category 9. Now, category 10 is really, as the rumor is supposed to be, is that it's really expected to have very limited use. Park Hyatt Kyoto is one that's been mentioned as a likely category 10, but we're not expected to see the Park Hyatt locations, all of them, funnel to 9 and 10, but especially not 10. So not a huge issue. I think that most of us expected this to happen. So that's where we start with that. Then we have super peak award pricing. Now, this is expected to be applied to various brands such as Hyatt House, Hyatt Place, and Caption. And I think there's two key parts to this. One is that this is helping Hyatt kind of address the high-end hotels with category 9 and 10, and it's also helping them to deal with their entry-level hotels that a lot of us have been able to get a lot of value out of with their pricing chart in category 1, 2, and sometimes 3, depending on where these Hyatt houses and Hyatt places are located. But I think if the rumor is true, the plus that we're going to see is this super peak award pricing would be capped at up to 10 days per year at a location. So we're not, at least by rumor, we're not expected to see that this becomes a very dominant situation where we see periods of super peak award pricing all throughout the year. Now, once again, it's rumor. We'll have to see how that works. I could see that even if they do that in the first year of 10 days, I could see where in certain locations that they look to spread that out a bit more. And I think that ones that come to mind for me that would be in certain cities where you have a lot of different events, 1 or 2, it could be certain situations where you have these locations near college campuses where it ends up being ones for during football season, basketball season, and those type of things. So I think that we might see a little more than 10 days over time, even if it may start at 10 days. But I like the fact that they did look to cap it. The third item is the free night certificates with top off. The certificates have been at category 1 to 4 and category 2 to 7. We're expected to see, by rumor, it go to 1 to 5 and 2 to 8. Now, that's not overly surprising, and it's something good to be able to see, because one of the things that I think all of us ended up looking at was, did we see when that window where we know that the quote unquote devaluation or the raising of the moving hotels around on categories in April have been ones where we're going to lose some hotels that were part of our free night certificates. Now, the Explorers category is going to be able to top off their category certificates up to category 7, while Globalists will be able to top off to number 8. So that is a positive thing where if you've gotten status, it makes sense for you to be able to do something with it. Now, the question that I have with all of this is the timing of the implementation. If they were in an ideal world, they would roll this out where we get that chance, like we normally do in April, to be able to take one last advantage of the pricing before it raises. I don't know if we're going to get that positive, that option, but I'm hoping we will. But I would say that if you're looking at any of the Park Hyatt hotels for this upcoming year, especially, then you may want to look at potentially looking at booking that sooner than later, depending upon your window, what points you may have, so that you don't hopefully get triggered into category 9 in most cases. So I think that would be the main thing to be able to look at for that. Now, once we've got the pricing rumors, we now end up having the rumors as they relate to the new premium card, which we've heard a lot about as something that was coming as Chase was expanding their relationship with Hyatt. And so what we have for the rumors all seems to make a bit of sense. The rumors that we're looking at is a $795 annual fee credit card with a $100,000 initial sign-up bonus, automatic Explorer status, an annual category 1 to 5 award certificate. Now, just for that, all of those make relatively decent sense as far as as we talk more about the features of why this is to be a $795 annual fee card. And the Explorer status is about as much status as they could give you, because they don't want to end up doing things like Hilton with the Aspire card, where you get diamond status, where they had to then expand their tiers to try to make sure there was still something where just having the card didn't give you everything. So I didn't want to see where one card gives you everything with Hyatt. But we did see some, at least with these rumors, we're seeing some positive things with it. So the other thing is the annual category 1 to 5 award certificate. Now, that's a bit disappointing for a $795 annual fee card, because you're able to get that once with the expansion of 1 to 4 to 1 to 5, you're getting that already with a $95 credit, a $95 or $99 personal card. So I expected that they were going to go to the 7 or 8 category, but let's see what ends up happening. You would also get 20 elite status nights per year just by having the card. And then you would get 10 elite status nights in addition for every $15,000 in purchases. Now, the really impressive thing on this, and depending upon how easy this really is going to be, Globalist status can be earned with 20 additional nights over the 20 nights that you're getting with the card. So with 20 additional nights, you can either choose to spend your way there for 30 grand and get the 20 additional nights, or 20 nights is not a lot for people to be able to get with some planning that would go along with it. Now, the milestone reward perks won't work the same way because you'll only earn them at the thresholds where you essentially automatically pass through. So that would change the whole milestone situation. You would get $200 Hyatt statement credits 2 times per year. You would get 10x on Hyatt purchases, 3x on dining, and direct airline purchases. And then the card would also offer access to the Chase Sapphire Lounge and Priority Pass. Now, if all of those come to pass, I think that we definitely can talk about this being a card that is worthy, that has the potential to be worthy of a $795 credit card. I think that for most people that go to Hyatt, and even if it is split every 6 months of $200, you're still talking about $400 as a statement credit. And to me, that is much more substantial than when I'm looking at a quarterly situation with Hilton on such as my business credit card, where I'm just not at a Hilton every quarter to utilize that. But I would definitely see myself at a Hyatt every 6 months to burn through $200 as statement credit. So if that was legitimately $400 to you, you've now made this a $395 credit card. Then you get that award certificate, even if it remains at a category 1 to 5, then you still get some value out of that. Whether you say it's $95 or $100 at minimum, you're still now eating into that $795 easily. And if it comes with Priority Pass, now you have, especially if you don't have a premium card, I think sometimes even in my kind of small bubble, it's hard. It's easy to see that it's sometimes hard to kind of remember that there's a lot of people that don't have premium credit cards, and this one would be a very good and interesting one when you're comparing it to the other type of hotel cards. So the Priority Pass, the Chase Sapphire Lounge, that'll be a question as far as how much access you get. Is it going to be relegated to so many passes per quarter? Are you going to have free reign to walk in? I think that we probably would see something that would have some restrictions of the amount of number that you would be able to use. But even if that's the case, there's still going to be value in that. But even more for me is getting 20 nights ahead of that 40 nights that you would need for Globalist. I've talked about, I had for a very short time, I think I had it for 6 months, I had Globalist status, and I milked it for all it was worth, everything that came with it. And there was some really good benefits that aren't talked about with Globalist that this would be something that would entice me. But I'm curious of what you all's thoughts are about this potential of what this card may look like. So I'll make sure to jump in and say, Sleepy Rod, appreciate you. Turns out the rumor was not true and supposedly a troll on Reddit. I did see that just before I got on. I think that the question will end up being is, I think that even if it's a troll, and even if we're not as close as they made it appear to be, this does make sense for them to go this route on this. So you're exactly right. It was talked about. I saw before I came on that it was mentioned, and someone had said it. I hadn't seen it widespread to say it was definitely a troll, but unfortunate if it was the case for someone to do that. But I think it's still an interesting conversation because this is in Hyatt's wheelhouse, and it would be something else for Chase as well. So, but we'll see how that plays out. And if it's a complete troll, then they got a lot of us, and we'll have to live and learn on that. So, but thanks for pointing that out, Sleepy Rod. And Nurakan, appreciate you stopping in. Good morning to you. But that's what we have on the Hyatt situation of what that may or may not be for Hyatt. So we'll make sure we keep an eye on that and see how that plays out. Now, as far as some of the different topics that we have for this week, let's touch on, we still have the Delta SkyMiles cards. That goes through April 1st, so there's plenty of time on that. We've got the, as far as a couple of new things, Let's move to Chase. We still have the Venture card. I will say that the $95 card that added in the $250 travel credit is a nice touch. Now for Chase, we still have the Marriott Bonvoy cards with the 2 free nights with the no annual fee card and the 5 free nights with the $95 annual fee card. And this is the perfect example, especially the Boundless with the 5 free nights, where for your normal everyday spend that you might do for a window to spend $3,000 in 3 months, you now have essentially a vacation lodging done. 5 nights at up to 50,000 points is going to get you some really good locations for Marriott's locations. We also have the Southwest credit cards. All 3 of the personal cards at $99, $149, and $229. All what comes with a companion pass through February 28th of 2027, and you would get 20,000 or 30,000 or 40,000 points on that, depending upon which card you were getting. The lowest price $99 plus card would get you 20,000 points. Premier would get you 30,000, and then Priority would get you 40,000. It's something I keep looking at the Southwest card because, as I've mentioned before, Southwest is the only airline for me that gives me a straight nonstop flight to see my son. And so I've not gotten one of these cards yet, or my wife hasn't gotten one, but we're going to look at this one a little bit more at this point to possibly go and pull the trigger on this. But still got to read up on this, especially now that they moved to the assigned seating. Then on the World of Hyatt credit card, now that one we know is going to be ending on February 26th. So that is fast approaching, and they're talking about it's going to be in the morning of the 26th. So don't wait to the 26th if you want to go ahead and pull the trigger on the World of Hyatt card, with it doing the free nights for its welcome bonus. The United credit cards, we have those at differing points. Most of them are going to be on May 20th through May 20th, although the United Quest card is going to be April 1st as far as its elevated bonus. The IHG credit cards, the no annual fee credit card, as well as the IHG One Rewards Premier card, both have elevated offers for that. I end up having the IHG One Rewards Premier card. Love the card. Also comes with that free night on your 4th night free, while you normally see the other ones at 5th night free. So every little bit that you can get extra normally will end up working out for you. And then we have the Citi Advantage cards are still on their centennial welcome bonus, and then the Choice Privileges MasterCard through Wells Fargo. Now, there's a lot of different quick notes to touch on with you all. First, at the beginning of today, the plan was that TSA PreCheck and Global Entry was going to be paused as of 6 a.m. due to the government partial shutdown. Now, that would have been a change in how shutdowns were normally handled with TSA PreCheck and Global Entry, because it's mainly funded by participant fees, of course. Now, it was, and a spokesperson did end up announcing a little bit later this morning, earlier today, was that they were not going to do an across-the-board pausing of those services, but that they did reserve the right to handle this on a case-by-case basis. So we'll see how that ends up going. There was a lot of pushback from the trade association, from the airlines, as well as other groups that basically talked about this being more politicized for it. So it's nice that they did pull back on that so that people don't have those issues during the travel season or during this travel time. Now, Atmos, which is for Alaska Airlines and Hawaiian Airlines, has global getaways. And if you book by February 27th, you are able to travel between the 27th of February through May 12th. Now, these do only apply to economy fares, but they have a lot of locations at some pretty good pricing, award pricing one way. You can go to Helsinki, Finland for starting at 17,500 points. You can go to Copenhagen, Hokkaido, and Vienna starting at 20,000 points. And you can go to Munich and Prague starting at 30,000 points. So there's a landing page for that I'll have in the description for you to be able to see that and explore and see if there's anything to look at for yourself. Then, as far as transfer bonuses, we have Chase to Flying Blue at 40% through February 28th. Now, if you can hit one of their saver awards, you could end up reducing an economy starting at $6,000, bring it down to $5,000. Premium economy 10,500 to bring it down to 8,000, and then upper class bringing it down from 29,000 to 21,000 points. Now, there are high surcharges with this, and I believe trying to make sure I've got to actually check this. This might actually be Virgin, so I apologize for that. I'll look that up now that I'm seeing upper class. Now, there are high surcharges that come with as much as $500 each way with upper class, with it being more coming back from Europe on this. So definitely be aware of this if you do look at transferring, but I will look at that. I think that should be Virgin. I apologize. And then Delta's Super First Class. So as on June 7th, there's going to be 7 A321neos that are going to be brought out of the garage into service. And you can start booking these flights beginning February 21st. Now, what's interesting about these is that these 7 planes are geared to be Delta One planes, but they don't have the approval and the clearance for them yet. And so they've basically been sitting in the hangar. Now what they're going to do is they're going to basically have them go out for an undetermined period of time. And these planes are going to have 44 oversized first class cabins. Now keep in mind, and this is through 11 rows. Normally you would end up seeing basically 20 first class seats in 5 rows. So these are definitely going to be expanded. Now we don't know what the differences in pricing may be for something like this, but we do know which routes they're going to be on, and that they're going to be Atlanta, only ones coming from Atlanta to LAX, San Diego, Seattle, and San Francisco. So if you are already looking at doing a cross-country flight from Atlanta potentially and have interest in possibly hitting on one of these, that's what you're going to look for, beginning routes that are on those beginning June 7th on A321s, and then you should hopefully be able to see potential options for these super first class seats. Now, the other one I want to talk about is what the points guy rated as the best new credit card lounge. It's not been one I've gone to yet, and I'm curious if you all have been to this location yet. Seems very, very impressive for the pictures and what I've read about it. And that is the Capital One Lounge at JFK. Now, this lounge is located in Terminal 4, which is also with a flagship Centurion Lounge, a Sapphire Lounge, 2 Delta Sky Clubs, and a Delta One Lounge. Now, this is the largest Capital One lounge they have at 13,500 square feet, and it is open 24 hours a day. It is fully wheelchair accessible. It has a parent's room, large windows with views to the tarmac, 7 bathrooms, including a shower room on it. Really impressive from what I've seen. I don't think I'm going to get the chance to go there anytime this year. But if you've been there, definitely let me know your thoughts about it. It's something that I will look forward to hitting at some point sooner than later. The other item with Capital One is that we now have the second Capital One landing. Now, it's been almost 1.5 years since the first landing opened in Reagan Airport near DC. Now, this second one opened up in LaGuardia on the 18th. Now, it's in Terminal B on the bridge to Concourse A, and this one is a 12,500 square foot location, which has an interior area as well as a bright light-filled terrace portion of it. Now, the Capital One landings, as this is only the second one, does a little bit different, something special with it, I'll say. So at the DCA location, you can end up getting cartside mimosa service in caviar cones. At this location, the signature daily rituals is what they call it, would be goat cheese infused tomato cones, and they will look to do tableside martini service. with that. So just a little bit of extra something in the lounge in this for the landing location. So definitely, once again, not a place I'm probably going to get to sooner than later. Let me know if you've been there or planning to go there. Definitely interested in your opinion of those locations. And then we have the Swiss Caviar for first class. Now, for Swiss, caviar is not a regularly offered item in first class with them. It is on a rotational basis. But we now know for a 2-week period from February 18th through through March 3rd, on flights departing from Zurich and Geneva, caviar is being offered to first class flyers as part of their connoisseur experience concept. Now, it's a nice thing to be able to do. Unfortunately, from a points and miles standpoint, there is no easy way to redeem miles for first class on Swiss because you really don't get that access to be able to do it unless you are a miles and more senator status. But if you are flying, you get the chance for some caviar. Then we have the Andaz, which is under Hyatt, of course. We're going to see their first Andaz ski resort, and that is Andaz Heber Valley. And this is going to be the first mountain ski resort of the brand, not of Hyatt overall, but of the brand of Andaz. Now, it will open in January of 2029, so we do have a long while to go. Only 63 rooms and suites, but it's about where this is located in all of the development that's happening around there. It will be located between the Sundance Resort and Park City within a development that they are calling the Slope. It is a mixed-use area, and it's also not far from Deer Valley, which is about 5 minutes from there. And the Deer Valley East Village area has a Grand Hyatt, and they are bringing, and soon we'll have a Four Seasons and a Waldorf Astoria that will be there. A lot of condos and apartments will be going in this area. So while there's only 65 rooms and suites at the Andaz location, you will still have the opportunity to be able to get into other locations if you wanted to be in the area for that. It's a highly developed, becoming a highly developed area of that part for skiing. Now, from the purchasing points area, let's first look at Choice Hotels, where it's going to be up to 30% on purchasing points, and that's at 35% actually, at 18,000 points or more, would bring you down to 72.72 cents per point, which is very competitive from what most people have as a baseline for Choice Hotels. Now, for Hyatt, if you purchase 7,000 points or more, you can get a 20% discount. And while that's not a great discount, we don't normally see great discounts out of Hyatt for purchasing points. So this is at 2.08 cents per point. So this is really more of a top-off situation where you know that you're going to get the value that makes it worth it. And then for Flying Blue, you can get up to 80% on purchasing points. And that is really at the 50,000 to 100,000 point range. And that would bring it down to 1.69 cents per mile, which once again makes it pretty competitive for if you're needing points. But remember, Flying Blue is a transfer partner of basically every credit card issuer. So you hopefully have a lot of opportunities in areas to be able to look at for that. And then we have a transfer bonus for Amex to Avianca at 15% through March 28th. Now, for this one, this is not offered through Amex. It is directly through Avianca. So I will have a link for that in the description where you can go be able to look at doing a transfer. But this one is one that's directly through Avianca's page. Capital One has Japan Airlines for 30% through February 28th. And then Chase has Marriott at 50% through February 28th. And now back to Andaz, we have Andaz at Lisbon. Now this will be the first Andaz in Portugal, 170 guest rooms and suites. The opening date is next month for March 11th. Now this is located in the Beja, I think it's pronounced Beja neighborhood, which is known for historic landmarks, shopping, and dining. Now this is going to be a Category 6 location, which in cash is going to start at $350 per night. In the points range, it's going to be 21,000 to 29,000 29,000 points per night. Now, once again, for purchasing points, you have leading hotels of the world with up to 100% through April 3rd. And that 100% is from 30,000 to 50,000 points. Now, that is 6 cents per point. Now, if you're not familiar with leading hotels of the world, it is a lot of higher priced, in a lot of cases, boutique type of hotels. Now, if these are hotels that you normally go to, then this point purchasing can end up being a good deal versus cash in some locations. So if you're already looking at ones that are part of that portfolio, make sure you do at least take a look at this, because it may end up still saving you money by buying the points versus paying the cash. Frontiers has its up to 150% on its bonus on its points purchasing, which is its best ever. And that's going to run through March 6th. And that 150, it's going to be 100% just starting at 2,000 points. The 150% is going to be between 10,000 and 50,000 points. So if you need some points for Frontier, this might be a good option for you to be looking at if you need those. Now, as far as make sure to pop back in and say hello to Mr. Coco. How are you doing? Good morning to you, sir. Glad you're able to stop in. And for Raman, I always get this. I always talk too fast on this. Ramen Clock, appreciate you stopping in. Hello to you as well. So let's touch on, in the strategy session, let's talk about United Airlines. Now, this one is definitely not rumor, so at least we can talk about this and know that we know what we're dealing with. Now, United is basically moving in the way of Delta, which is not overly surprising. We've seen this happen before. I'm surprised it took this long for them to do it, but the numbers are pretty drastic for people. If you've been a United Miles member and you don't have a credit card, this is going to be a situation where you may be put in a situation where you have to get a United credit card, depending upon your business with United. So now these changes that we're going to talk about are going to be implemented as of April 2nd. The earning of miles from the currently by member status to the non-card holder as of April 2nd, and then the card holder of April 2nd. So if you're a member right now, you get 5 miles per dollar of earning miles. That, as of April 2nd, if you do not have a credit card with United, you're going to drop down to 3 points. But if you do hold a card, you go back up to 6. So they are truly going to, I hate to say penalize, but they are essentially going to penalize you for not having their credit card at each level. So currently at 5, if you don't have the card after April 2nd, you will drop down to 3, and then you'll go to 6 if you have the card. For Silver, it's the same situation. Currently 7, you'll drop down to 5 on April 2nd if you don't have a card. And if you have a card, you will go up to 8, better than you were before. Gold, 8 points down to 6, back up to 9. Platinum, from 9 down to 7, back up to 10. And then Premier 1K, 11 points per dollar, dropping down to 9 with no card, back up to 12 points if you do have one. So they've moved to a pretty drastic route. I'd have to go back to look at how Delta did it when they really made the push. This one seems a little bit more drastic than what we saw with Delta, but if you saw it a bit differently, correct me if I'm wrong. Now, for basic economy, which obviously we've seen that trend move from airlines to strip down economy to where it's basic economy, where basically you don't have the ability to get refunds or make changes, and so they make it a cheaper fare. We're seeing now that the mileage, if you're a MileagePlus member versus a card holder, if you're a general member, you will no longer get any points or miles on this unless you have a credit card. Then you can get 3 points. And we're seeing the same thing of a 3-point difference between silver, gold, Platinum, and Premier 1K. The next thing that we're seeing is that you're going to get 10% off award flights for cardholders and increased availability. Now, this is definitely similar to Delta. Delta has its take off 15, which is 15% on its award flights. We're seeing that United is going with 10%. And you are going to have increased availability of those Polaris Saver Awards. Now, prior to this transition on April 2nd, you normally, the increased availability of Polaris Saver Awards was limited to the top tiers of Platinum and Premier 1K. Now we're seeing where you having credit card, that co-branded credit card, now puts you at that same level. So we'll have to see how that ends up going with that. I think the main thing we have to be concerned about with this is probably a similar one that we had when Delta first came out. When Delta came out, the big concern was, were we really getting gamed with the 15%? Were they increasing those the fares to basically bring it back down to what it was before with the 15% takeoff? I think that we've continued to see, at least I have, for when I've used it, I still don't necessarily see that kind of gaming of the system the entire time. It's not to say that they haven't done it. I just have not seen it. And I haven't really read about data points talking about that. Hopefully United will be as clean, quote unquote, as Delta has been with that takeoff, even though it's only 10% versus the 15%. Now, as far as those Saver Awards with Polaris and the availability, we don't have an idea of what is going to be the increase. I did read someplace that the current availability was like 33% of those Saver Awards got allocated to the Premiers, Premier 1Ks and the Platinums. I've not seen that anywhere else, so I'm not sure if that's exactly the number, and we don't know what it's going to be increased to. So I think that most people, if you are a regular flyer of United, you're going to be in a situation where you are, I hate to say have to, everybody's got a choice, but it's probably going to have to be one you're going to have to look at of getting the card to be able to give you some of that availability of Polaris. If you're interested in that, maybe you're an economy flyer and it doesn't matter to you. But I think you're going to have to look at that. And then that 10% take off, 10% off on those award flights could be something that if you're flying a lot, even in economy, can end up covering the cost of what that credit card, regardless of which one you look at, might be able to help you with. So I think those are all those things there are ones to look at for that. I want to make sure to say hello to Chad Money Minutes. Appreciate you stopping in, sir. As I've always talked about, Chad, always a different perspective. I'm way behind on catching up on his content, and I'm going to look to do that this afternoon, hopefully, now that I'm back. But just wanted to make sure, so make sure to check out his always an interesting perspective. But those are the things that we've got for today. It's been a bit out of practice, a bit rusty on this. And while the topics of the lead topics was Hyatt, and I know that it's been talked about, and I appreciate Sleepy Rob pointing it out as well, of it being basically getting trolled. I think that the thing is that there is going to be something coming down the pike. And if this was a troll job, and I wouldn't be shocked that it would be, I think that what was presented was at least something that was competitive for both Chase to make some money and for Hyatt to be able to have a card that made sense, because we're not going to see a premium card from them that's going to give you globalist status. That will not happen, nor do I want it to happen. I want there to be some step to earn to get there, but I was hoping that there would still be something there that could expedite it a little bit. So I don't know if anybody's got any questions, thoughts, or concerns that we should touch on. We'll definitely pick up and keep learning of what's going on through the week for that. And I'll make sure for members to get them out something as we get more information on that and do a live stream. I try to do a live stream each week, although I've been off a bit on that. So I will be doing that this upcoming week and to get some more videos out since I've been a bit out for a bit. But if there's not anything else, I cannot thank you all enough for taking you all's time to come on. And I thank you all so much, and we will talk soon. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.